Hey folks, welcome back to the channel, Evil Dungeon Master channel here on YouTube. Hope you're having a great day. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about, since Halloween is coming up, a little advice on running horror RPGs for your group. And traditionally when we did it in our groups, we basically broke out Ravenloft or maybe Vampire the Masquerade or Werewolf or something like that. Just something that had a little spooky element to it or had a horror vibe to it. But there are some things that you can do for horror, and I grabbed two books that usually I go to when I want to run horror games or thriller games or Halloween type games. And what we could do here is let me just switch to that one here for you. And the OLG D20 horror is actually pretty good as far as mining for information. So, what makes horror different from other games? Horror is really not just about scaring people, it's about creating like kind of grotesque and repulsive atmospheres where your players feel some discomfort. You don't want them to sit there and be like, ugh. The worst thing you could do in the world is go to a horror movie and sit there and be like, you don't want to, you want to jump scare, you want to go, ugh, you want to, turn your eyes away because you're not really, you're scared of it or something like that. Think about games like Call of Cthulhu. The focus isn't about winning, but surviving the madness, where players know they're powerless against the cosmic forces and things are lurking around every corner to basically rip them to shreds. So that element there is kind of what a horror game will do. Now, the importance of a setting is another thing inside of um, a game. Horror thrives in grim, dark, claustrophobic, unsettling environments. A haunted mansion with creaking doors and whispers in the walls instantly sets the tone for obviously fear in type of like a Ravenloft game. Or a game I've been recently talking about, Hostel. That's a claustrophobic environment in space where you don't know what's going to happen, and the only thing you can do is run, but there's really nowhere to run because you're trapped. So you want to get that sense in it. You also want to use all five senses in description. When engaging players with sensory descriptions, visuals are very important. So you have to describe everything. But don't forget the other senses, such as what they smell, what they feel when they touch things, sounds in the area, and even some taste, because you can taste things in the air when you're walking around, depending on if there's like a sulfur taste in the air or there's some type of weird smell or stench. You will taste those things. Like, for example, you feel your boot sink into the soft, squishy floor, the smell of decay filling the air as something warm brushes past your leg. And you're in the dark with a lantern or a torch, and the DM says that to you, you're gonna start to immediately start to go, ugh. I start looking on the ground. What's going on? I don't understand. And they start bringing the torch down, and then you could do like something drops on them, but it's just like a little baby spider or something like that, enough to get them to jump and feel uncomfortable when playing the game. Another book that you can mine for information is GURPS Horror. And GURPS Horror is another one. This is the 4th edition book. There's a 3rd edition book as well that I misplaced, but you can use this as well, and it gives some really great information, not just for GURPS, but just for horror in general, and how to maintain the horror aspect inside the game. Now, another thing you got to do is you have to manage player expectations when it comes to doing this. Death is going to be expected in a horror game, but how do you really manage it? Well, players often come into horror expecting character death, so balance the challenge without making the game feel frustrating. It's kind of a hard one to do. In Call of Cthulhu games, death or insanity is almost given, but the real horror comes in how long the characters can outlast that situation before they unravel and become insane, or before they finally meet their end for that giant monster ripping them apart. So you have to think about those things and be on their side as a GM. Help them out. Give them situations that they can get away for the time being. But, death is inevitable in these games. Generally, when you're playing them, you're going to die. So there's also fear of the unknown Keep the monster that you have or evil force hidden and unknown as long as possible to build tension and unease. Like in Alien, the crew doesn't even know what's hunting them at first, and the tension comes from that unknown threat. In Halloween, Laurie doesn't know Michael Myers is stalking her yet, and starts catching glimpses of him as the movie goes on, and then when she looks, he's gone. It's like, did I see something? Am I going crazy? What's going on here? So those are things that you can do with stalkers, or keeping the fear of the unknown forces out of their eyesight. So the narrative shift is another thing you have to talk about, and action. Let the story evolve from the players being helpless and scared to finally confronting the monster or solving the mystery. Give them a chance to fight back. Even in Friday the 13th, when Jason showed up, the people did fight back at one point. Well, most of them die, but some of them do fight back enough that they can get away. The players will like that. Halloween, Laurie did enough things to stab Michael Myers. He fell over. She kind of got away for a little time being. So there's things like that you can do. Knock the monster out. Maybe the monster is dead. They think he's dead, but he comes back later on, or he gets back up enough that the players can run. Just give them that one powerful moment in the game. So another thing you could do is there are some things you can take and watch just to get inspiration for horror movies. Use films to guide your pacing and atmosphere is another thing I like to do. Movies like The Thing or The Ring can inspire how you can pace your horror, from slowly building up to terrifying reveal. An example is building tension like The Thing, where the paranoia grows as the monster hides really in plain sight. Those are some fun things that you can do. Now, you could watch slasher movies and things like that and get inspiration from that, but you really won't. The Rob Zombie movies will not be really all that helpful because they're only slash and gore. They are not really building up elements. Once you meet the family, the Firefly family, there's going to be a death somewhere along the way. Now, if you're going to play that type of modern game where you involve a family that's stalking people and terrorizing people, you can build the suspense by having them, like they do in most of the movies, quote unquote, torture the family, but they're not really torturing, they're just delaying the inevitable. In Three from Hell, for example, another Rob Zombie movie I was watching the other day, when they kidnapped the family, when the warden was going to free one of the family members, they basically made them sit there and watch TV with them the whole time, knowing they were going to die eventually. So there's things like that that you can put into your game if you really wanted to. Those are my advice for running a horror game. Mine books for information. Try to insert the elements into your game. Keep the big bad hidden for as long as you can, and have them stalk the players the entire time. There's nothing better than a good stalker that doesn't reveal himself, or once in a while shows his little face, and then they get scared. So tell me what you think about having horror in your games, how you implement them in your games, what books you might use. These were just two examples that I pulled out to help support things. For mining examples, they're not the ultimate thing. There's plenty of other books out there, and I'm sure people are going to be like, well, what about this book? What about that book? Well, those books are there. Use them. Definitely. Use what you need to use to make your game better. Tell me what you think in the comments. Don't forget to like. If it's your first time here, subscribe. Don't forget to share the videos, and you can join the channel for 99 cents a month to become a member, and you get videos ahead of time, and you get a Friday night stream just for you, members only. You can support me by going to buymeacoffee.com/evilDM. With that said, I'm going to head out. Keep it original, keep it old school. Good night, God bless, and keep those gaming fires lit.
Don't ever laugh as the hearse goes by, for you may